you can use this. So again, guys, if you didn't download Selenium IDE, you can still go and download it, Selenium IDE, and then if you right plug in Chrome, the first thing that will pop up should be the Selenium IDE. Here, you just go ahead and edit. For me, it's removed because I already have the extension. Once you have the extension, next is going to be you click on it. Once you click on it, it opens up a new window for you. And this is where you can start writing your test cases. So let's do a pop quiz right now and see how many people remember. So Arafat, let's see, since you've been trying, let's see like if you can explain to me the whole process of testing and including this Selenium IDE. So let's assume that your team uses Selenium IDE to write automated tests. What are the testing steps that you will follow until you get here and started writing the test cases in Selenium IDE?
Probably record a new test project.
No, but everything else, right? I mean, you don't just do that. Otherwise, as a tester, right? What else do you have to do? Pretty much, you can't just all of a sudden grant test cases for you to work with. It has to be made by someone, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
so it's the same for test scenarios and other stuff, right? So you gotta tell me everything else until you get here.
First you from the business like BA or your manager gave you the requirement, and you look it over the requirement, you make the test scenario, then test case, and then using the Selenium IDE, you can easily record the whichever you need to test, and the Selenium IDE record it and write code on the.
So then you do it for any test cases. So you first get the requirement, you study it, and then you come up with your test scenarios. Once you come up with your test scenario, you write the test cases, and then you just go ahead and automate all of them.
Not all of them. I mean,
okay, so explain.
Okay, you don't really have to do the automate test scenario, test case. A lot of test case you can be done like manually, like you check them.
So then why do I need you as an automation tester to join my team?
Okay, so I mean, the developer normally they go over, but it's for them to find a mistake. It's hard for them. I mean, not hard. It's not always. If someone writes something, they always see the positive side. As a QA, you will find the mistake.
No, but why automation? Whatever you're saying is true for manual testers also.
Yes, automation makes more easier.
Easier for who?
For the QA.
I think automation saves time.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so with the auto, and it's easy to maintain the test cases.
Automation is not easy to maintain. It is a bit harder, but it saves time because you can execute again and again, right?
I can execute the same thing every time. I don't have to write every time.
Okay.
When
so
ready.
Yeah. So one thing Arvat is failed to mention is that, and that's why I'm just kind of like asking you guys this question, is because we don't just automate everything. If you were to automate everything, that means you're taking more food than you can eat, and now you're gonna waste it, right? So same thing, same analogy applies here. If you take a lot of test cases to automate, and now your test breaks, even if there is a small changes happens in the application, and it requires constant update. It requires constant maintenance, where manual testers or even the testers in your team is not enough to deal with those kind of changes on your automation, then it defeats the purpose, because now after some time, because you're not going to be able to maintain it, you don't have the manpower. And what's going to happen over time, your automated test is going to slowly become not relevant to your application. So it's not testing the right thing anymore. It's also not running the right way, and it's just breaking everywhere, right? So then they will say, oh, leave automation because it's just taking too long. It's failing this, it's failing that for no reason. And we're going to go ahead and move to manual testing. So that typically happens, and it happens again and again and again in many teams I have seen over the years. They have really good automated test cases to begin with in the very beginning, and then they choose to go more and more and more, and then now they have, let's say, 23, 2400 test cases, and they don't have enough people to maintain them, right? So isn't it a good idea to take as many test cases as we can maintain and take the test cases that are really matters? Why would you want to do a lot of negative testing in automation, right? Why not just test the end-to-end flow that a user will basically suffer if they don't have that feature working in their application? So you want to take high priority test cases that a user will not live without, right? And you want to test them. So at least what's going to happen, your test is going to be useful to say that all the major parts of the application is working as intended, and user will not be blocked, right? Now, the smaller things, even if the automation misses, it's okay. At least the automation is making sure the core part of the application is working as intended, okay? And then if we have the room, and if we feel like we have enough time and room to expand our test cases to more, we can do that as an automation team. But you don't start your test automation with the lowest priority test cases, or at least not the way, not just taking one user story. Maybe that user story has 20 test cases. We don't automate all 20. We don't. Maybe that 20 test cases, out of 20 test cases, there is 15 test cases only negative, right? So we'll go ahead and take only 5 that is dealing with the major part of the application. So 100% automation in a team is not possible, and it shouldn't be 100%, to be honest. If you do 100% automation in your team, chances are you'll never reach to 100% test automation, because there is some limitation with your tool as well. Selenium is not going to be able to do everything that a human can. But let's say 80% test cases were automated. That'll be really tough for your team to maintain and keep it healthy at all times so you can run it. Imagine, okay, let's give you guys a scenario. Imagine like you have 2,200 test cases in your team, and you're the automation guy, right? They ask you to run those 22 as part of regression, and they say, run these test cases and let us know if everything is good so we can go ahead and release, right? The first question is, what is regression? And the second question to you would be, what if 100 test cases out of 2,200 test cases fails? What will you do after that, right? So let's see if you guys can, at least come up with a constructive answer. This is not something that there is no right or wrong. Let's see, what do you do in that situation? It has nothing to do with experience, okay? So who wants to take it? You got 2 questions. Obviously, what is a regression test is basically, you should know that by now. We explained last class. And then what will you do in that situation? You have 100 test cases failed after running out of 22. Anybody wants to try? So nobody wants to try these two questions.
Can you please say the question again?
Okay, first question is, what is a regression test? The second question is, you were asked by your manager to run 2200 test cases, which is your regression suite, okay? Out of 2200, 100 test cases failed. What do you do after that? Do you just tell them, hold on? What do you do? You know, what it is that you will take the next steps as a QA engineer?
So regression test is, I think, the retesting, the functional and non-functional test cases. And if 100 test case fail, what I will do?
So regression, the definition you have said is not correct.
Okay.
So yeah. The second one, if you want to try before I give you the answer.
Mm.
So I want to try. So
Different.
regression testing is checking the new added functions are working properly with the unchanged one.
Right. You're just making sure that newly added feature functionality is not breaking existing feature functionality. You're concerned about existing. The word regression, if you really look at the definition, you'll see that it has some sort of relevancy, right? So I would say the next time you hear about regression, you should hear what happened, what's the past, right? It's something to do with past features, if they're working properly, even though we added new features, new functionalities in the application, or even altered the existing features in a greater way. Okay. You want to try the second question?
I'll give a crack at it
Okay.
if nobody
let's
else
try.
wants to go.
Mhm.
I would say that you're probably going to exactly do that, do regression, and just kind of like see if there is a problem there, and then obviously retest. Like you're not
So
just
let's
going to leave
say
it alone.
no. Okay. Let's say you did the regression and you see, in fact, 100 test cases failed, and 2200 tests out of 2200, 2100 passed, and 100 test cases failed. What are the
Okay,
steps after that?
I mean, do you go back into the cycle again from the beginning?
So
If they're
you
failing,
don't.
you're going back to the
Mhm.
cycle now.
So why would you run it again? You already got your result, right? Number one. Number two is that think about this way. You have you created a net for fishing, right? And you put your net on the water, and now all of a sudden you get some 100 fishes. You expected 2200 fishes, right? But 100 fish got caught on your net. Do you just leave it there? Do you want to go and harvest them, right? So what is your goal as a tester, right? As a QA engineer, or let's say tester first, right? Because we are a tester first before becoming QA engineer. So what is your goal as a tester? What do we actually do as a tester?
Report a bug.
Yeah, bugs.
Yeah, report a bug, right? So now if you have 100 test failure, shouldn't you be happy? Oh shit, 100 tests failed. At least there are some potential bugs causing these 100 failures. Don't you think? This is something that you shouldn't think, or you'll say, 100 failed, we'll deal with it later. Let's go for release. Which
Okay,
one
that
do you
makes
think?
sense.
Okay.
No,
So
you
now,
want to do the fails, right?
yeah, so now you investigate. You tell them like, okay, I'm sorry, but 100 test cases failed. It's going to take me a day and a half to go through each one of them, to investigate them. And after that, only that, I will go ahead and let you know if it's ready for release. So you go through each one of them, even if it takes like an hour per test case, it's a lot of time that you have to spend. So I guess the original thought about this statement was that if you have 100 test cases that you will have to investigate before you can even tell them it's ready for release, now we're talking about taking 100 test cases for one person is going to take at least a week, at least in my view, right? Because you have to rerun them. You have to run them locally by yourself, one by one. And then you'll have to recreate and you have to see if there's any bug or not. And so if that takes 1 week, automation already is defeated at this point, meaning that 1 week could have been taken by manual testers and it would be done, right? If they hired maybe 5 or 6 people, those 2,200 test cases could have been done with manual testers. So why would the company need automation then, right? They're not getting any value out of automation at this point because they could get the same exact result by manual testers and it would be even better. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that don't want to have so many test cases in your automation suite where you will have to work day and night, just to see if the result is valid or not. If the result comes back and you have a lot of failures, that's called flaky test, right? And you run it locally and it doesn't fail, meaning you run one by one, it doesn't fail. But then when you run it or everything at the same time, it fails. That's called flaky test. And one of the hardest or one of the biggest challenge in automation is dealing with flaky tests. And the reason why flaky tests happens is because maybe the timing, maybe the server, maybe one of your tests already messed up the setting for the account. And now the other test is trying to use a feature of the account that is already messed up by the previous test cases. So a lot of these will be handled by us, right? So server delay, we can handle it using different kind of weight that Selenium provides. And then we have to make sure each test case are independent to themselves. They don't have to be dependent on another test case in order to be more and more, in order to make our test less flaky when we run everything at the same time. Okay, so at least you guys got some idea about, not everything you should automate. Otherwise, okay, they don't even need testers. You will see any team that you join, you'll see that there is this one person who's been there for like 10 years, 15 years, and they're gonna just praise her like, oh, she's been working with us for 15 years. And now you talk to her and she says, I don't know anything about automation. I don't know coding. I don't know this. And you're gonna think like, whoa, wait a minute. How is she even working there? No, but she does have the value to the team. The biggest value that she brings in is because she was there from the very beginning to end. And she has the product knowledge at this point. She knows the product in and out. So you will always see that one person knows the product in and out. And that's the person you'll probably communicate a lot in order to, ask questions and, and there are jobs similar to that, right? Where you join as a team member and then soon enough you acquire all the knowledge about the product. And after that, you don't have to do automation. That's fine. And to be honest, like if you join a team and I'm talking about a decent team, and let's say after joining 2 months goes by, 3 months goes by, and you said, okay, I'm sorry, automation is something I feel like I'm not, it's not my strongest side. I'm going to focus on manual. They'll probably let you do manual testing and it's fine. But now you are kind of shooting on your own foot, right? Now you're going to stay as a manual person. It happens to a lot of people where they initially learn automation, they go into manual, and then the company also feel comfortable because either way they're getting help, right? The company is getting benefit out of you because you now do more work. As a manual tester, you usually do more work. So they don't really care, right? Everybody has a place in a team. You will fit into that place depending your knowledge level, but also depending on how much you want to improve yourself. So over time, you'll have to make sure that you constantly improve until you get to the point where you can fully automate things so that we can stay in automation. It's easy to fall off the automation side. It's very easy because now it's going to be easy for you and easy for the company as well. But the moment you fall off, they will hire another automation person and they will come and they will basically do the same thing that you were supposed to do. But if you're a contractor, there is a possibility of getting fired if you didn't do automation. All right, with that said, guys, let's start writing a few test cases. And again, keep in mind this TLC doesn't go away just because you are doing test automation. So first thing first, when we record a test case, we have to come up with a test scenario, right? Let's go into this insurance domain. So let's say this time around, last time we just clicked a bunch of things and nothing else, right? So this time around, what I want to do on this website, this is the insurance domain, demo website. So we are not really creating any data that goes into database. So it's fine, they're going to be fine. So you can actually do anything in this website, shouldn't be a problem. Now, if you go in here and let's say you have different kind of domain, you can see. Number one is personal. Personal, they have ATB, they have auto insurance, they have condo insurance. So different kind of insurance that you want to learn a little bit about how the agents use the application to originate a policy, right? So for example, auto. You click on auto and then you click on auto insurance code. And now this application will take customers' information. So if I was the agent, I would select my name, for example, and then I would just go ahead and enter this information and start it to go into the next step. And similarly, go to the third, fourth, whatever is the steps. And at the end, I'll give them a 6 months premium code, whatever is the case, and tell them, okay, this is how much you pay. And if they agree, then I create the policy, right? So now, just like that, there's many other applications. So here we have payment system application testing. We have charge insurance, we have homeowner insurance. So this is just going to give you a little bit about the domain and domain knowledge, because your resume may have some domain knowledge like insurance and finance, right? So just keep that in mind. We're throughout the automation, we're going to use this application is because some people try to automate Facebook and they get blocked by Facebook, right? Because they know you're trying to do something funny there, right? So, so it's better to just stick to one website, but you can choose what kind of domain you want, right? If you want to do restaurant, if you want to do special event insurance, whatever is the case, you will be able to choose that. So let's do a test case here. I'm going to go back real quick. I'm going to go back to the base URL. This is your base URL for the application testing, right? So on the base URL, I'm going to go ahead and copy this and I'm going to create my first test case. My first test case is to fill out the first page. And then we'll move on to the next page and verifying if the next page was actually, in fact, retaining the information that we enter in the first page. Okay, so new test, new project. So I'm going to say insurance demo is the project name. And this is the project URL. I'm going to say start recording. And now I just have to be really, really careful with what I'm clicking. Okay, because Selenium is listening and it will actually go ahead and record everything that you do, right? So I'm going to click on personal first. Actually, not clicking is hover. So now if I do hover, I'm going to right click and I'm going to tell Selenium to hover, okay? Because the mouse over, basically, sorry, it's mouse over. So I did mouse over on the personal because without the mouse over, it will not display this information, right? So I did the mouse over. The next thing is I need to do is auto insurance. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. Before I do that, I can do another mouse over on the auto insurance. And then now I'm going to click. Once I click on it, I'm on this page. I'm going to verify if this information displays. I'm going to go ahead and right click. And I'm going to say, go ahead and verify if the text is displaying Nevada car insurance. Once that is done, I want to click on this guy. So click on it. And once I clicked on it, I'm going to verify the first thing that I see on that page, new page. So I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to right click. I'm going to click on Selenium. I'm going to say assert. I'm going to do a text assertion. Once that is done, I'm going to enter information like, for example, let's say Jimmy, right? What is it? Last name, Smith. And let's say Jamie, let's say 12@testmail.com. Phone number, it could be like 444-555-6666, right? As long as the right digit are fine. 11101, let's say, right? An agent is John Doe, for example, the referring agent. I'll go ahead and click on next. Once I go to the next, the first thing I want to validate if I'm on the right page. So I'm going to go ahead and actually validate step 1 of 4, this one, right? Or maybe I want to validate this text. So I'm going to highlight this and I'm going to say, I want to make sure that this text is there. Okay. And similar to that, you can actually validate all the texts, whatever you need to validate. So notice that on the second step, you're seeing the first name, last name, email, phone number, and everything displaying properly. So now what I will do, I'll click on this and I'm going to right click and I'm going to say assert and I'm going to say value. Okay. So I want to make sure the value is there because these are pre-filled from the previous page, right? So previous page where we entered this information. So assert, I'm going to say value. Assert also, and I'm going to do the value. So we're just asserting a lot because this information we entered earlier and it displayed here. And that is because database saved the information. If it didn't save it, then it wouldn't be here. Value. And the last thing is the zip code. And then this is for the, okay, so we'll leave this alone. So I'm going to go ahead and now go back to my Selenium. I'm going to stop it. And I'm going to give it a name, verified user can move to step 2 page, right? This is, we're just verifying if any user, they can move to the step 2 page, right? And that's it. So let's review our test first. Like whenever you record with your IDE, the first thing you want to see if you have unnecessary steps, right? So the first thing first that I can look at, okay, it opened up our website, then it mouse over the drop down toggle, then it clicked on auto insurance. It clicked on it mouse over and then click. So okay, it clicked on it, and after that it click on H1. We don't need to click on H1 because we're just verifying if H1 has this information, right? I hope it makes sense. And then we're just gonna keep
What is
that.
H1?
And H1 is the header, basically. Each page have H1. This is H1, which is the header of the page. It's like a title of the page at this point.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But you don't have to know if it's H1 or H2 or H3. As long as you just highlight and say, I want to verify this, it will kind of, it'll grab it from there. And then you just have to manipulate and say, okay, do I need this or do I not need this? So the next one is we have error code, we have click, we have assert text. We are verifying if this information is showing, right? This is where we clicked, right? But then H1, again, we don't have to click because remember H1 already are something that we're asserting. So I'm going to remove that. First name, we don't have to click. We can just go ahead and enter first name, right? So I'm going to go ahead and delete this step. And again, whatever I'm doing is just removing unnecessary step that was generated by my clicking. The second one is the last name. We don't have to just click on it. We can just enter the information. The third one is email, same thing. Phone number is also delete. The step for clicking, zip code is the last one. So I did that. And once that is done, we added referring agent So notice on the referring agent, we have click as well. So we're going to go ahead and remove that. And then we also have ID form div. So I don't know why we clicked on it, but we're going to remove that also. Then it goes into the next page. So it starts one. So this is like where we clicked on it and went to the next page. And then we are looking at H1. And then actually, these are some of the steps that was done when we are trying to make a decision which text we want to assert. So I'm going to remove all three, right? Because we just clicked around for no reason. So I'm going to go ahead and.
What is ID and CSS? All these things. Like, how do you know what you're doing here?
So here, like I said, everything is recorded for you, right? You don't have to. And we're going to get to ID, CSS, and these are the locators that Selenium understands. When we get to Selenium WebDriver, we're going to learn what these are. But for now, because you don't have to deal with them, you don't have to really like know what they are. Just know that whatever is being recorded, you just want to make sure it's clean. It is a clean version, right? So similar to that, you can see we're just click. We have a lot of clicks we can remove. But for now, let me just go ahead and run it to make sure my task is running fine. And if this is running okay, then we can go into the next step. Okay, so notice it's not even running it, right? Because, oh, okay. But now it's running it because it doesn't have the personal side. It doesn't have the mouse over previously. So we have to add that back, right? As you can see now, everything passed, right? Right here, look, everything passed. So it looks like we, in the process of cleaning it up, we deleted mouse over and we have to add that back. So you see, like we clicked on it and it is still looking for this one. So now that we ran our test, we can see what's wrong with it, right? There is two things that is wrong. Number one, if you click on that button right here, previous button, let's go back. If you already clicked on that button, that will take you to the next page. It's no longer going to be available on that page. But what we are doing is click on it, and then we're looking to hover again with mouse over. We can't do that. So we're going to remove this step. So now it should work. The other thing is that auto insurance right here, mouse over for auto insurance didn't work for some reason. Maybe we need to, maybe it has more than one name with this, right? So I'm going to go ahead and try to update this, right? So mouse over, I'm going to try to update the locator. Okay, so I'm going to click on this button right here. Okay, and then I'm going to just use this instead, right? This is just the text, and this is what we're saying is an XPath. XPath is a little bit more reliable. So I updated that. And then the next thing, clicking, I'm going to use the same because this is where exactly it didn't want to do the work, right? So I'm going to go ahead and run it now and see if it does it. You see, notice it didn't even hover to personal. Okay. So we somehow missed the personal. You see, like the, okay, let it finish. It's just going. Okay. So the entire test passed, except for a few things. So we will go ahead and, so right here, let's say we need to hover over personal, guys, because this one, toggle, whatever is the thing, we're going to say personal. Okay. So now it will probably not have the, it'll probably do it himself. Personal, boom. Okay. So it's working without me doing it for him. Okay. So notice like your entire task passed. And then we can see what is trying to find this implicit wait timeout 300 verify user can find. Okay. Oh, this is from the log. So we're fine. So this is from the log from the previous test, but again, these tests, the specific test pass, otherwise we wouldn't see a green check mark right there. Not the step failed, okay? So far, we are good on how we record our tests and how we cleanup that has afterward. Like even for example, this one, if you are just checking a value of the zip code, why do you need to click on it? You can just delete that, right? Same thing. If you're verifying the value for city, then just go ahead and delete the clicking. So I'm going to clean up a little bit before we move this into our Selenium web. Before we move that into IntelliJ. Okay, so we're going to actually take this to IntelliJ just to show you that yes, at work you are able to reuse the recordings that you create. Okay, and this is just to make sure that initially you get that extra push, or at least like the extra help by recording. And sometimes it's good to just go ahead and record and see how the script looks like, and then you can do your changes afterward. Any questions before we move on to the next step?
Yes. Do we need to do these cleanups? What's going to happen if we left it the way it is? Like, be careful, but left it.
Yeah. So let's say you left it, right? Now you have unintentional clicks, meaning like, let's say, let's go back to the page 1, right? Personal auto insurance. And you click on auto insurance code. Okay, it's loading. Okay, so in these pages, right, where you click on it, right click was not really necessary. You just want to type, right? That's what you want to type, you see? But now click, you can keep, is fine. But what if you were like, oh, this is the email address, and you clicked on the title of this field, and you clicked on the title of this field? These are unnecessary steps. So if you leave it there, it's fine. It doesn't cause anything to your test. But the problem is your test may fail at some point because maybe this was updated, right? Or your test may fail because this is a click where your clicking is not possible. It's not an element to click on, right? It doesn't do anything when you click on. So just keep in mind, we want to make sure that our test case, every single necessary steps that we want to automate, only those we keep. We want to clean up the whole test to the point where we keep only things that we need to see. We can only have things like steps that we are doing and then validating something after the steps, right? Remember, tests, expected result and actual result. For example, right here, personal, if I go on there, initially, if I just go ahead and move my mouse there and it opens up, but the Selenium needs to know that you want to move your mouse there. And that's why you have to right click and tell Selenium, I would like to do mouse over. And then you have to click, like, for example, then you have to click on this link. But when you click on it, you don't have to hover at this point. So you already did the hovering here. You don't have to do it here. So again, trimming and unnecessary steps, removal, is a good practice. Otherwise, you're going to have your tests with many things on it, and people are going to be confused. Like, okay, what are you trying to do? You know, you're going to have false positive answers at this point. The test should be very clear, like what are the steps that you're doing and what was the outcome of those steps. All right, any other questions?
You're going to teach us at some point, right? All these meanings, all these little XPaths and all these other things.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, because Selenium WebDriver, you'll have to write this yourself. You don't record. The reason why we're learning how to record, because imagine you join a company and they said, oh, you know what, we start with Selenium ID, and you go like, I don't know Selenium ID. I only know Selenium WebDriver. But then Selenium ID, starting with Selenium ID is probably more easier, right? As you can see. So you're missing that opportunity. The other opportunity you're missing is that maybe your boss wants to see some test cases automated by next day or next weekend, whatever is the case. And you don't have the time. You come in here, record your script, put that script, hook it up into your test, and it's just tell them like you wrote the test. That's it, right? So this is going to be one way or another way. This is going to be useful for you when you are automating, I would probably start by recording first and see how the script looks like and then write my own. So now let's go ahead and click on the test instead of executing. I'm going to right click and I'm going to export this, right? I'm going to export in Java JUnit. Okay, so it's already saving it somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and save it, and it did save it here. I'm going to go ahead and open in this in my Finder. So is this, as you can see, like last time when we wrote the test case and we had this here, and this time we have this test case. It's a little bit bigger than last time. So let's open up our IntelliJ. And let's go ahead and add it to these test cases. So as you can see, like this test case was running last time. So we're gonna just go ahead and edit. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna right click. I'm gonna open up the, where is it? Open it in Finder. Find in files, okay. Oh, never mind. Not there. It's supposed to give me an option. Oh, open in Finder. There you go. That's what I have to do. Okay. So now inside of my first day Java, I'm going to go into source. I'm going to go into test. And then inside of Java, we have many Java files. We just want to drop that file there, right? So the new file that we created just now, and we're going to go ahead and drop it. Since we dropped it there, now it's going to be here. So let's do a reload maybe. Okay, so that should bring it up here. Okay. First day at Java. Okay, so we probably put it into wrong project. Let me just go and see. First day at Java. Okay, this is where we should be putting. Okay, so this is where I will put that again. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and copy it from the other place. Oh, never mind. We only have that project anyway, first at Java. Okay, let's just see where is it? Where did it go? Verify this. I don't understand. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and download it one more time. Okay, that's good. First I had Java, source, Java. Okay, so instead of Java, we already have this. I don't understand. Okay. Verify. Okay, that's good. So maybe it needs to be reloaded. Okay, I'm gonna just restart this real quick. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and open my project. Okay, the next class we're gonna start writing. Okay, it's right here, guys. So the next class we're gonna be writing test automation from scratch. We're not gonna record and run. Keep in mind, and I'll have to give you guys training on how these frameworks, basically how we can create the framework, right? A proper framework. This is not a framework at all. We just have a Java project. So we'll do that. So notice I have to modify the Chrome driver because in here, the Chrome driver that we're opening, it doesn't have. So if you try to run it right off the bat, let's see what it does. It'll probably complain about the driver. And that's the first thing. Yeah, so it says, okay, driver is not there, blah, 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 right? So I'm going to teach you guys how this works. But again, what we are doing, we're just saying, instead of using the driver that, the recording took place with, we're going to have our own driver by using the driver manager, and then create a new driver here, which is Chrome driver. And now if I run it, let's see what happens. And this is the exact same test that that we had, right? So you see, it opens up the Chrome automatically by itself, and then it does few things for you, like goes and fills out information, and then it's done, right? We probably will see some failures here. Now we have to fix our tests, right? So even though you recorded, there will be some differences. For example, we validated the text and it found it, but probably a slight difference in text. As you can see, they said this is expected, but then it was found this, right? So we have to see the difference. If you click on it, it gives you, at least IntelliJ gives you a difference on exactly, it would be the best solution. Okay. It basically try to give you as a difference on how this text appeared. So this could be a case of using equal. So I hope that is not the case. Let me see. Where is this text being? Okay, this is the text that is being validated. So let's see. Assert. So we're using assertion here. Assert that. So we'll probably have to fix this using maybe assert equal or something, right? So we're gonna basically do that when we create everything from scratch. But as you can see, this is how the test scripts looks like. Now, when we create everything from scratch, for example, let's say filling out the information on the first page can be reused by another engineer, right? Another QA engineer. So we're gonna create that as a method. You guys remember how we created a method? And we're gonna put into the appropriate place and call it here. And this is how the real world test case looks like, right? We create methods that is reusable, and then we put it into their places, and then we call them whenever necessary. So you'll see that when we create our framework, we're going to be practicing the object-oriented programming in order to make sure our framework, or at least our test, is more maintainable. I guess like one of the challenge in our test automation is also maintaining your tests. You're maintaining to see if your test passes all the time, and it doesn't tell you everything is failing even though application is healthy. And many companies, they struggle with this, right? Where test automation engineers, they run the tests and now they have 20 failure, 30 failure, even though application is fine. There is no real bug, but they still have to spend the time to go over and investigate those failed tests. And that's one of the reasons why I would say, maintaining the test automation is very much important. And we are going to do that by using object-oriented programming, by making that modular, right? Reusable code block will be created into method, and we're going to call them into our tests. Right now, everything is in the same page. Everything, absolutely everything for the test case is in the same page. And that is something that we're going to avoid. And that's why Selenium ID is not very, very helpful if you are a coder, if you actually somebody who write the code yourself. So at least you see the difference between, at least you see how the Selenium WebDriver works. I'm gonna have you guys write few test cases with Selenium WebDriver and come back and tell me if you have any challenges. And then the next class, we're gonna build framework from scratch, and we're gonna start to automate using writing the code ourselves. Even the single line of code that we're gonna write is gonna be coming from us. And we're gonna start to practice test automation. For example, let's say you go to a page and you collect all the links using your program from this page, and you collect them into a collection, right? In the temporary memory, for example. And that could be an array. You guys remember what array is, right? And you put it into an array, and then you validate each link one at a time. right? If they are still working. That is something that humanly not possible because this page have maybe hundreds of links. Anything that goes like this is a link, right? So this page may have hundreds and hundreds of links. And if we try to do that manually ourselves, it's really, really gonna be time consuming. And sometimes we will also have human errors. So we're gonna start to automate this difficult stuff as time goes by. And by the time, again, like I said, and Java is something like a Java final project, I think 8 of you guys did. There are a few people that left. And if you did poorly, my only thing I would recommend is that just go and try to spend 1 or 2 days with Java and Java only and try to get a little bit better knowledge on the Java side. And then do your challenges once again. The challenges are intentionally hard. Trust me. If you can't do the challenges because you feel like it's too much, that is fine. That is expected, but I want you to try. We know that you don't have to ace that challenge in order to get a QA engineering job. On the QA engineering job, as you can see, we have a lot of help, right? But if you get solid with Java, you're not going to have a lot of problem with the upcoming class. Okay, so just make sure that you do that. We're not going to be an expert in Java, period, right? So just keep that in mind. We're not looking to be an expert in Java because that's going to take a lot of time, right? As long as you know how a class works, how you have a main method, how you have these variables defined, you can create a loop, you can create methods, and you can create control flow like if and else or even case statement. We should be fine, right? So focus on the Java basics for the next class. But if you can complete that final, that'll be great. I'm gonna probably give you guys end of the day or maybe tomorrow an update on who's missing that homework and who needs to redone it. And yeah, just try to keep up at this point because as soon as we dive into Selenium, it's going to be really, really helpful. The other thing that I would like to mention is that I did share a folder yesterday. If you can post your resume there, I will go through the resumes and I'll see who's going to be, at least who will be qualified for this mid-January hiring, right? So mid-January hiring will take place for this one company that we know, and we have been placing people there for like last 6-7 years, right? So on that project, if you are placed, you're going to be a Java developer, right? The good thing is that they don't expect you to start working on the day one, right? They do give you training. They give you training as much as 10 weeks. So you don't have a lot of work in the very beginning. So if you happen to become a Java developer, not a problem. You can keep the job. You can actually continue to do our course and their course as well and get paid, in the meantime, but we can still help you with your QA job. So if you happen to, again, like I said, I have to look at the resumes and see who's going to be who's going to be qualified for that job. And then I'm going to start to share those resumes with the recruiter that we're in touch with. And then we'll probably call you to say, okay, we got the interview, let's do this or that, right? If you get the job, doesn't mean, oh, okay, that's it, I'm done. It just means that, okay, now you have a choice. You want to keep that, only that, and you don't want to come back, that's totally fine. If you feel like, okay, no, I want to continue and I want to get the QA job ultimately, but this is just here, I'm getting some money, but also I'm getting a lot of knowledge, then that's also fine, right? But what happens, I'll tell you, many of our students is that they work there for a year and a year and a half. And after that, they get a QA job. Some of them actually maintain 2 jobs, right? Because that company doesn't care if you work one second job. But and some of them actually quit after getting the QA jobs. Now they feel like QA job is significantly easier because they already did the hard part. They were a Java developer. for like a year and a half, right? So many of them actually, I think majority of them actually come back to the QA side. But there are several people over the years, they never came back. They became a Java developer, they moved on with another company, whatever is the case, they started moving up, right? So those are the, I would say, guys who may have the background already in computer science. So I'm going to try for you guys to see if I can place as many as people on that project. But if not, then obviously mid-January, we're going to start trying ourselves as well on the QA opportunity. So just keep that in mind. Mid-January is probably the good time. We're going to start asking if you feel comfortable to start looking for opportunities. And we're going to start to give you guys resumes that you can use to target or apply for jobs. And we're going to go through the interview process. We're going to try to help you as much as possible. And yeah, but for now, at least you have 2 months, right? December and January to at least make your knowledge more concrete on Java and also on Selenium itself for automation. So just keep that in mind and just keep it going. Like I said, if you feel like, oh man, I am not able to do this, don't give up, just keep going, because there is a place for everybody here. There is a place, right? And I'm not going to say, oh, okay, if you don't do this, then we become a manual tester. We're going to keep trying, but then we can say that we did 10% automation. We didn't do a lot, right? That's fine. So just don't give up because you personally think you're not able to do it, right? Just go ahead and continue and let us decide if you're ready or not, right? So obviously there are mock interviews that we'll take before all of these things will take place. And let us judge, right? You do everything from your side. Believe in yourself, and also you got to do what you got to do, right? Meaning you need to tell yourself that you're ready, and you need to tell yourself that okay, you can do it, and we'll go ahead and evaluate that, right? And we'll see if you are actually ready for the market. If not, then we will give you recommendations. Okay, let's focus on this or that before we can do another round of mock interview, and then start to place you out there for jobs. With that said, guys, today I'm gonna start, I guess, end early, as you guys can probably hear from my voice. I have cough and all that stuff, and hopefully I get better by Tuesday. I think it's the new RSV, whatever is the case. Everybody is sick nowadays. But the homework is going to be on this. We're going to probably automate 5 test cases. I'm going to send out the homework in a little bit, but just know that you have to do 5 test cases, automation just like this, and it's going to be added to your list of test cases that you have. This is the line that you want to focus. Okay, this is where it says public void setup. You want to have these 2 lines, and you want to have this driver manager inside of your pom.xml to make it work. Okay, just keep in mind, you see the driver manager right here. This guy needs to be there as well. So that way your test can run locally. Okay.
Can you show us how to get in? Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you show us how to get into that POM again? Because I don't always see it on my IntelliJ.
So if you, okay, it's not in the source, it's actually in the main directory. So it's probably at all the way in the bottom of your project. So if you did create a Maven, if you don't see POM with M icon on the left, that means you don't have a Maven project. So what you can do, you can create a Maven project by click on File, New, and then Project. And the next thing that will pop up is this window where you name it, and then you select Maven, Java and Maven. And only then you'll see that pom.xml.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, but anybody struggling, let's say you feel like that you need that small help, or maybe you need that extra help, just reach out, take a screenshot and say, this is where I'm stuck. Don't tell me I can't do the whole thing. Start getting used to trying, and then say, okay, this is exactly where I'm stuck, and give me a screenshot, or post a screenshot in the group. Somebody will help, if not us, right? So just write it and say, this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm stuck. So obviously all of our admins are there, and at least one of us will say, okay, you're doing this wrong and you're doing that wrong. and we're going to try to help you. But main thing is that start asking for help the right way. Because if you go to a coworker and say, hey, I don't know how to write this test case, he's going to get frustrated. But if you tell him like, hey, I'm writing these test cases, but I'm stuck on exactly in this area. Do you have an idea? And he'll say, oh, let me see. Interesting. Let me see if I can help, right? If there is a problem and that person is an engineer, they will jump on to help you because problem is like the favorite thing the engineer wants to solve, right? But if you go and say, I don't know where to start, I don't know what to begin, I don't know what IntelliJ is, I don't know what Java is, they're going to get frustrated. They will not get you started. They will not really do anything because they don't want to do the work for you, right? But you need to start and then say, I'm stuck at this point. And then, we'll help. And then you move on to the next. And on the next phase, you get stuck. You do the same thing. You keep sending message with your screenshot until you are completely done, right? So that's how it will also be at workplace. You don't go and ask them to do your job. You just tell them like, hey, I'm stuck. I'm exactly at this level. Can you tell me how would I actually bypass this, or how would I actually deal with this kind of problem? And they will probably help you. All right, guys, so I'll let you guys go early today, and I'll see you guys on Tuesday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Thank you.